Hey, everybody, welcome to Rapid Reframe. We've got some great clips for you today, including some in which Donald Trump makes the case for voting against him. I hope you enjoyed these as much as I do. I will see you on the other side.
The first time ever, Kelly sets the record straight with on the record confirmation of a number of damning details about Donald Trump from background sources, including from a 2020 Atlantic story reported with unnamed sources by editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, including the stunning detail that Trump turned to Kelly on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery in 2017 and asked, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" This is Kelly confirming on the record stories of Trump insulting Senator John McCain and former President George H.W. Bush because in Vietnam and in World War II, respectively, the former aviators were shot down. Kelly describes Trump as, quote, a person that thinks those who defend their country in uniform or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are all, quote, suckers because, quote, there is nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good for me. A person that demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families, on TV during the 2016 campaign.
Just a reminder, General Kelly's son was killed in combat in 2010, and he's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Okay. Donald Trump knows nothing about courage or honor or about fighting for something bigger than himself, beyond himself. He doesn't believe in anything that is bigger than himself, more important than himself, beyond himself. He just doesn't. It's very, very, very simple. If you vote for Donald Trump, you're as despicable as he is at this point. I'm sorry. There's no conversation to be had. There are no excuses to be had. You are voting for fascist, brutal dictators who starve and murder their own people. You are voting for the end of the Western Democratic Alliance. You are voting for cruelty. You are voting for a man who despises you, who despises his country. So maybe think about it that way. I'm sure there are people who think that Kelly's lying and Donald never does anything wrong. Well, there's this thing called therapy you might want to check out. Anyway, I would love for people who support him to articulate just what it is they're supporting, because I don't see anything anymore unless the only thing you people care about is that he hates everybody you hate. And that, by the way, and this is what we're being reminded of by Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, that is a really, really pathetic, tragic way to live your life.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I can't even believe it. I've been so lucky,
right,
in terms of that whole world.
Because you've never gotten a social disease.
It is a dangerous world out there.
It is
scary. It's like Vietnam, sort of like, the Vietnam era.
It is your personal Vietnam, isn't it?
It is my personal
It is. You've said that many
times. I feel like a great and very brave soldier.
Okay, you traitor. The reason that's your personal Vietnam is because you didn't serve in Vietnam. You lied about having bone spurs. Yes, your daddy helped you get a doctor to lie on your behalf. And you got 5 deferments, which meant that 5 American men went to Vietnam in your stead because you are a fucking coward.
He served for 24 years honorably. Then he stopped to run for Congress on a platform of ending the war. And I don't think that anyone, especially with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, did he dodge the draft 4 or 5 times? Bone Spurs, Captain Bone Spurs. What say you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the Nerds. I personally, I'm not interested in hearing anything JD Vance has to say about anybody else's service, at all. the fact that he himself is a veteran, attacking another veteran on completely false pretenses just shows you how despicable he is and how he's a pure opportunist. Everything he's doing is transactional. He has no sense of human decency at all. And I think this is yet another line of attack that is not going to work. It should not have worked the first time around when George W. Bush's campaign launched it against John Kerry, an actual war hero who volunteered to serve his country, who came away from that conflict with 3 Purple Hearts, and by the way, then lobbied Congress to stop a war he believed was unnecessary, illegal, and was killing people for no reason. And he was right about all of that. George W. Bush had a middling, at best, record in the National Guard. He was missing in action most of the time, and I mean that colloquially speaking. So Tim Walz served his country for 24 years honorably. And this should go no further. And especially that JD Vance is lying so egregiously on behalf of a man who's a traitor to his country, who never served in the military, which, by the way, that's not a deal breaker. I don't care. As I've said before, there are many, many ways to serve your country. I do not think serving in the military makes you more American. It doesn't make you a better American. However, getting out of serving your country, which at the time, because there was a draft, meant that other people had to serve in your place, that's a problem. So for JD Vance to lie on behalf of that fucking man, that's beyond the pale. This cannot go any further. There will be no more swift boating, certainly not of a man like Tim Walz. Before we get to the next clip, I've got a favor for you. At Mary Trump Media, we're trying really hard to get to 100,000 subscribers, and it would be amazing if you click the subscribe button now if you haven't already. It doesn't cost anything. It just means you'll be alerted every time new shows drop. Okay, on to the next clip.
Look, the process has always been there. I welcome, if Sean or anybody wants to become a DNC delegate, you're welcome to. But what I know is Democrats are ready to move when the situation warrants it. Look, it doesn't matter convictions. It doesn't matter failed policies. Republican Party stuck with Donald Trump. He's yours. You've got him. Welcome to it. Democratic Party can make our decisions. We pick our nominee. Look, if you don't like it, don't vote for it in November. But I think the American public are going to see they knew that this administration was delivering. We knew that as far as economic numbers placed against global numbers, America's in a far better shape. And we also know that a foreign policy that respects our alliances, not cozying up to dictators like Putin and Orban, is not the way to go.
How about this one, Governor?
JD Vance, mind your own business is what I would tell them. We'll manage it.
Who got fired at Fox for letting Tim Walz on their show? That was not a good move, guys. He runs circles around you. He has many, many good points. And this, absolutely. You don't like Kamala Harris? Don't vote for her. Okay, that seems pretty simple. It's not like there was some bait and switch here. You could actually say that they got exactly what they wanted. Did they seriously think that they could hammer on President Biden for 4 years about how old and decrepit and incapable he was without there being consequences? Look what happened. They made this happen because they made it the story, and the corporate media are so corrupt and so myopic that they went with it, and it became the self-fulfilling prophecy. So congratulations, you got what you wanted. And it's very simple. Donald, if you think the Democrats are cheating because they changed the candidate at the top of the ticket, I have a suggestion for you.
George Conway, right now Kamala Harris is everything that Trump wants to be. She's getting sellout crowds filled to the rafters. She has all of the attention. And I interviewed Fred Trump, Donald Trump's nephew. He said that the 9 days after she became the nominee were probably the worst days of Trump's life. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you believe this deprivation of attention is eating at him?
Yeah, no, it's a combination of the deprivation of attention, the fact that she is getting the applause and the praise that he desperately wants to have. And also, from his standpoint, not only is he losing the battle every day, and not only does he not know how to deal with this woman who's really set off a celebration of normality. He realizes he's that much closer to going to jail, because that's the reason why he's fundamentally running here. He wants to run to stay out of jail. And every day that he doesn't figure out how to respond, which includes this week, I mean, going to Montana, I mean, how many electoral votes are there and what? I mean, he's one day closer to going to jail. And that's got to be scaring the living daylights out of him. And I'm sure he's probably one of the reasons why they don't have him out on the trail this week is it's going to be embarrassing to watch him up against Kamala Harris and to match the enthusiasm. So they've got JD Vance weirdly following Vice President Harris around, and he was wandering around toward her plane today to check the plane out. It was weird stuff. Weird stuff, and it just shows that they're just completely lost at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, listen, it doesn't take a psychologist or any kind of mental health professional to assess this situation, at least the ostensible aspects of it, the stuff we all see, the fact that the two things that matter most to Donald, attention and crowd size, are beyond his grasp, probably, I think, forever at this point. He can't break through. And it isn't, yes, part of it is because of what's happening in the Democratic Party, which is unprecedented. The fact that President Biden said he was not running for re-election, the fact that he immediately endorsed Kamala Harris. But then there are sort of the things that after that nobody could anticipate. The velocity and strength with which Democrats got behind Kamala Harris, the coming together of this extraordinary coalition, the passion and the intensity of her surrogates, the reception of her pick for vice president, the energy, the enthusiasm, the extent to which it became very obvious how starved the American people are for those things that make being human worthwhile. We've been stuck in this very dark hole of Donald Trump and the Republican Party's making for so long. It's as if we've forgotten what it means to be a fully realized human being. Well, Kamala Harris is reminding us, and Tim Walz is doing a really good job reminding us as well. So what is Donald going to do to get attention? What, be more racist? Commit more crimes? Shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue? Maybe? So he's desperate. Yeah. You're in trouble when the only headline you've gotten all week is Trump complains about his campaign while, hiding out Mar-a-Lago. That's not a great look for you. I think more than that, though, is what Conway referred to, the size of Vice President Harris's crowds, the enthusiasm of those crowds. But what's undergirding all of this is, I guess, what you could call the tragedy of Donald Trump. The thing this man has most wanted, and of course, all of this is unconscious because he's not an evolved human being. He's not a self-aware human being. All he's ever wanted is to be loved. His father, a sociopath, a cruel, cruel man, made it impossible for Donald to be loved because Fred Trump made Donald Trump unlovable. That's what's going on here. Thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. And again, just quick favor, if you could click the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you could like and share the show with anybody you think might find it of interest, that would be amazing. I will see you back here later. Thanks for everything again. Take care.